Fun dad fact number 6. Did you know that Halsey Taylor invented the drinking fountain in 1912 as a tribute to his father who succumbed to typhoid fever after drinking from a contaminated public water supply in 1896? Well, now you do. I'm Matt Howes, and this is Shits and Giggles, a podcast for dads. Coming at you live from above the litter box, next to the pantry, next to the kitchen, WDAD. Hey there, winners, I'm Matt Howes. Welcome back, everybody, to Shits and Giggles, a podcast for dads. We got a lot of things coming at you from every side today, but I just want to start out with a shout-out to all the single parents out there. Now, I don't know what that's like personally, but I got a taste of it. My wife hurt her back recently, and she's still been busting ass doing all kinds of things that I wouldn't expect her to do with a hurt back, but she definitely has put a little bit more on me, which is absolutely fine. I'm always looking to help out, but I just, even being at like 98% for her is making me realize exactly how much work she does that I don't even know about. I've ended up taking off a couple extra days from work so that I can help out more around the house while she heals up, but guys out there, take care of your ladies. They are doing a lot, especially if you think they're, just slacking off. They are definitely doing a good job at home. At least mine is, and having to pick up some of the slack. I don't even want to call it slack because it's not like anything extra, just doing a few extra changes and feedings here and there. It really shows how much, at least my wife does, and it's been a bit of a extra dose for me, you know what I mean? So again, shout out to the single parents out there who managed to do it all on their own. I do not know what that is like because I'm not trying to liken my situation to that, but I'm saying that if you can, well, bully, because that is crazy. Anyway, moving to the regular scheduled broadcast out there, everybody. Hello, everybody. I don't know if you smell it in the air, but I can. It smells like a new segment coming out. And that new segment is going to be called me giving you just a little bit of Dadvice. That's right, folks. I'm going to start trying to give you a little bit of Dadvice. A little advice from my pursuit of the ever-perfectioning of my parenting. Yes, that grammatically incorrect sentence works out in my book, so I'm going to leave it in there. What I'll start with on this, or what I have for my bit of Dadvice today, is something about the changing table. I've heard that many parents have difficulty when you take your kid to change a diaper. They get very fussy. They get very difficult to manage on the changing table. And one thing that I've kept up in my household is when we go to the changing table, it's playtime. I take Penny and I make sure I get one good smile or giggle before we start the diaper changing process. And then after I change the diaper, we sit there and we'll giggle and laugh. And I'll blow raspberries. She loves that. It's a new thing she's really starting to enjoy is when I blow raspberries on her belly. She really gets a kick out of it. But making the changing time fun is key to keeping the changing time tolerable. I know that I've definitely heard some parents who have had horror stories of their kids are just horrible during changing. Yeah, she kicks and she fusses a little bit, but if you make it fun, they know when they're going to the changing table that it's party time. It's let's have fun. And also, another tidbit on that is, whether it be you or your wife, it's a little bit of solo time. It's some nice one-on-one where you can just have some fun. I spent maybe 5-10 minutes in there sometimes just fooling around, giggling, and having a good time. So it's really nice to have one-on-one time with the kid. And that's why changing time is so important. Anyway, we're going to move on from this Dadvice segment to one thing I wanted to discuss today, which was our mobility. Or more accurately, we are mobile. I was more concerned, and most parents are concerned today, with taking their kids places, with taking them to crowded areas, group events, even friends' houses. I know people who don't let their kid leave the house until they're 6 months old, you know? We were very worried about that at first. Babies are delicate. But as my lovely daughter has been described by many doctors and physicians, she is very sturdy. So, even after about a month, maybe a month and a half, we started taking her places. I mentioned how we brought her to the carnival the other day. We bring her to church. We bring her. We have our friends over at our house. Some of our friends smoke, so we don't bring them over to their house. But we bring them to the in-laws. Anywhere we go, we take her. She does great. We bring her to the grocery store. And for the grocery store, here's a tidbit, folks out there. If you don't feel like making your baby carriage ready every time you have to go to the grocery store, and you have a lift away car seat, I would highly suggest doing the redneck AF way that we do it. We just take one cart, put the car seat in that one, and we take another cart and use that for grocery shopping, and that's the redneck way to handle grocery shopping when you don't want to set up your baby carriage every time, or your stroller every time. So, but yeah, mobility, I think that I'm more relaxed about it than I probably should be more worried, just because of you don't want your kid getting sick. You don't want your kid contracting these long since eradicated diseases. But yeah, it's time to start acclimating her to normal life. And, it's when we were kids, we rolled around in the dirt. We went everywhere. We didn't have seatbelts. I don't know if we didn't have seatbelts. I remember my grandfather's car didn't have seatbelts. But notwithstanding, we definitely were a lot less protected than we were. And I mean that in all facets of it, unfortunately. There were things that happened then that won't happen today. I'm not going to get into that. But we definitely are a little bit more overprotective as parents today. It's clear. I did all the research. I looked up everything to make sure that, we were perfectly fine. And I just wanted to be there. I'm just trying to make sure that we are introducing our child to society. We're going to be going to daycare soon. I don't want her first experience out to be just these are other people. These are more than family. We take her out to dinner. Every time we go out to lunch or dinner, we take her with us. There's never a point we try. Well, if we go somewhere, she goes, unless we leave her with the in-laws, and that's fine too, because we get a little us time. But for the most part, we get her out there. And my advice, and again, this is not meant to be taken as, word is law, but I would highly suggest that anyone make sure that they socialize their kids for sure, but take them out if you can. I mean, it's definitely a personal choice. That's not my decision to make, but I enjoy taking my daughter everywhere with me. It's fun. It's good times. Even sometimes I'll just load her in the car to take with me when I'm doing a solo trip, just to have her there. And I don't know, it's what we're doing. It's not maybe not a popular opinion, but that's where we're at. Another thing I wanted to discuss today. I've told you I was in this Dads with Daughters group before. It's a great group. It does become toxic at times. Lately, we have the political posts starting to seep in there, and it just triggers everybody on both sides of the spectrum. So, it's ridiculous sometimes. But when you sift through, all those nonsense posts about politics, which has nothing to do with Dads with Daughters, and people asking if they still who all out there still smokes weed and is a good parent, which I don't have a problem with weed necessarily. I smoked weed before, who hasn't? But I find it weird that there's people who are posting, "Yup, smoking a blunt right now, giving my daughter a bath." I find that highly inappropriate. In the same way that I'd find smoking a cigarette right now and giving my daughter a bath inappropriate. It has nothing to do necessarily with the substance itself, but it has to do with you're exposing your child to a carcinogen. It's just not a great idea. And, say what you will about that. Like, I like to barbecue. So it's like, oh, well, when you barbecue, shut up, you morons. It's like, you shouldn't, it's like saying, I'm drinking a shot of whiskey and so is my daughter. We're having a good time. You don't have to expose your kid to everything you do. You want to smoke weed? Put them to bed, go out in the backyard, go on the porch, have a smoke, go for it. You don't need to necessarily and then shout out to all the dads who still smoke weed. And that's fine. If you still smoke weed in your private time when you're not around your kid, because you shouldn't be exposing your kid to anything like that. And this isn't even what I wanted to talk about. This was a tangent that came off of me remembering the nonsense that happens in this group sometimes. But back to it, a lot of things are good in this group. I guess not necessarily what I want to talk about from what I read recently, but there are a lot of great reasons to join the group. You get a lot of support. You get a lot of people, opinions on things that you want to know, and some shit opinions and some good opinions, but that's what opinions are. Everybody's got them, and they all stink just like assholes. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about from this group was a post I had come across and commented and discussed with the original poster about. I read a post and it went, I don't have it. It was taken down after it wasn't necessarily controversial, but I'm sure he just deleted it after all the people just talking to him about it because it's almost embarrassing. I guess not for him really. So the post, the gist of it was, hey guys, I'm at a bit of a crux here. I'm at a bit of a dilemma. My wife has asked me to tone down my energy level when I'm changing and hanging out with my daughter because she can't do that. She doesn't get to that level of energy. Now, I work full time, and I only get to spend a few hours a day with my daughter, which I can relate to that because when I work, I do only get a couple hours before she's in bed. But she says a few hours a week with my daughter, and I would like to optimize that time for play. And why wouldn't you? Be energy. Like if you only get a few minutes, make those few minutes count. That's the same way as if you have a 10-minute interview, make that 10 minutes count. But this guy's like, my wife and my mother-in-law agree that I need to tone my shit down, essentially, to make it so that because she doesn't have that in her. She says that she's at like the 97% of her energy. Like she's at almost the edge of her level of energy, and she just can't do it. Like when I watch TV, he doesn't watch TV. He's like, when the TV's on, we'll play, and it's when it's my daughter and my wife, they just watch TV together. And look, that's okay. That's not bad. We do that sometimes in the house. But yeah, this guy basically said that his wife said that he has to be a shittier parent because she can't get up to that energy level. And look, that's just nonsense. I literally posted, I'm like, let me see if I read this correctly. Your wife wants you to be a shittier parent because she can't just have a cup of coffee and get that energy level up there. And he's genuine too, because I went back and forth with him a few times, and I felt bad for him because it's clear that this is a very difficult issue in his relationship. It's very clear that there's some sort of there's probably a lot more to this than we know. And he was like, yeah, she does great on all the chores. He listed off like cooking, cleaning, blah, blah, blah. She does all this stuff. She's a great wife. And I wasn't trying to say she wasn't a great wife, but I definitely was kind of like, well, what's the deal there? And I mean, what do you think about that? Because I think that if you're at different energy levels, that's fine. You don't have to be, we want it to be 50-50. He was like, my wife doesn't want to not be loved as much as I do. And I'm like, I don't think that's how it works. It's not a contest. Unfortunately, in some custody battles, people make it a contest, but you're still together. So, that shouldn't be that big of an issue. But here we are. And my personal opinion on this, and I said to him, was like, well, either tell her she needs to get her shit together, obviously not in so many words, more of a tell her she should bring her energy level up, or deal with it. I'm sorry, this isn't a deal breaker for a marriage. It's not a deal breaker for parenting. There are energetic parents, and there are lethargic isn't the exact word I'm looking for. There are low energy parents. That's not the way that my wife and I are. I definitely am fun. I am 4 a.m. when we do the changing, like blah, you're sticking out tongues and having a great time. And my wife is right up there with me. She oftentimes says that you're so much better with her than I am. And I disagree, but it is what it is. Everybody has their opinions on how they're viewed by their kids, and that's fine. But, to tell someone to willfully lower their parenting style, it sounds like this guy is an excellent dad for the amount of time he gets to spend. And it sounds like there's some deeper rooted issues here, like maybe he's not pulling his weight around the house or something like that. He's spending time, instead of helping clean, he's playing with the kid. But I'm sorry, if you don't want to just, leave your kid sometimes. Me and my wife will putter around the house and clean little by little, but we know that first off, cleaning is a uphill battle that will never be won. We have a kid, there's laundry to be done all the time, and we have to, live our lives. I'm sorry. So we're not like, oh my God, the house needs to be cleaned, it needs to be cleaned. But, we definitely do our best, and we split time. I always, every time my wife gets up to do something, I ask if there's something I can do to help. When she grabs the kid to change a diaper, I'm like, would you rather I do it? I don't want to, and that's kind of from my insecurity, I don't want it to get to the point where I've been a bad spouse and father and have the resentment build up without me being able to at least clap back with like, I ask every time I do blah, blah, blah. I mean, not that you need ammunition, but I just want to make sure that I'm doing the best I can. This is my first time being a father, and it's never going to end from here. So if I'm not pulling my weight, I want to know if I'm not at a high energy level, and I should be. And my wife has I'm a battered parent. But my wife has talked to me before where when we were getting up every few minutes to change her when she first came home, I was getting frustrated. And I spoke about that in earlier episodes. And she was like, you got to take it easy. And I've had to say the same thing to her. It's an even teal right there. But, it's just, I just find it so strange that a spouse in a what seems to be a happy marriage, anytime someone says my wife and mother-in-law, it sounds like it's coming probably from the mother-in-law. I don't know anything about this situation, but it seems like he's in a happy marriage. But what the hell? Like, really? What is that? You need to suck at parenting so that I don't feel like I suck at parenting. It doesn't have to be 50-50. I mean, the responsibility there is 50-50 for sure, and there's nothing you can do about that. But it doesn't have to be like, well, we're equally the best parents out there. I don't know if that's the way to phrase it, really, because there are strengths and weaknesses for everyone. And where one, and in my marriage, I feel, and don't shit on me because I'm talking all, he's such a great husband. But where I fail, my wife usually picks up the slack and vice versa. That's where I feel it works. And so if I'm not doing so great at one aspect, usually my wife is picking up the slack over there. So that's how it works for us. That's how it works for a lot of parents. It's not how it works for everybody. Again, I don't try to sit there and say that I'm right, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. What I am saying is that you never should tell someone to lower their energy level. You never should ever tell someone to be worse at parenting. You only get one chance. You only get one chance in these years, and they're going by so fast. Like, my daughter is growing like crazy. I'm already like, I miss it when she was just a little bean, It's nuts. But yeah, it's my thought on that is just don't ever. You should always be raising people up to your level. Never bring people down to your level, and that could be really used in all aspects of life. In this nonsense culture of here's my opinion, you're wrong, which is never how it was supposed to be. You should be elevating people to your way of thinking, not lowering them to throwing rocks at each other like you are. People just throw out opinions and then they don't defend them. There's no more debate anymore. It's just, I'm right, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. I'm taking my toys and going home. That's not how it's supposed to work. It's not how it's supposed to be. So there's that. And I guess that's really all I have to say. I'd love to hear anyone else's opinions on that post where, come on, I need you to be a shittier parent so I feel better about myself. That's nonsense. Phil, please call the hotline, send us an email, hit us up on the Twitter or the Instagram or the Facebook page. Speaking of the Facebook page, I am proud to announce we are now happily and heftily over 1,000 likes and followers on the Facebook page. Thank you, everyone out there who is listening. Thank you for all you who have liked. And it feels good to know that there are people hearing this. It's not just me talking to a wall, which is literally what I'm doing, talking to a wall with my logo on it. It says Shits and Giggles right in front of me. It's nice to look at, but we are now happily and healthily over 1,000 likes and follows. And that's, to me, it's my first podcast I've done. I've done a few that never really got off the ground, but this is the first time I've done one that's actually gotten some kind of steam to it. I get people reaching out. It's nice to know. And I guess I wanted to just kind of say that. One of the things I had written down this week because, I ended up getting into an argument, or not an argument. Someone had talked on the same dad group about, when should I vaccinate my kids? What do you feel about how if the parents don't want to get their vaccinations, or sorry, not like their parents, like the grandparents don't want to get their vaccinations? And I just wrote that, and this isn't really to shit on Florida, but it reminded me of seeing articles in the newspaper, or not the newspaper, obviously articles online. Anytime I see the word anti-vaxxer in a headline, I literally liken it to the same as when I see Florida man in a headline. It's always just absolute garbage and nonsense. And it's like, I did actually read an article where, it was viral meningitis for this, by the way, but it was a Canadian couple let their kid die, and viral, there's not a whole lot you can do about it, but they treated their kid with meningitis with maple syrup, go Canada, and garlic. Garlic is very healthy, but it can't cure meningitis. Hold on. Sorry about that. It's me and the baby. Baby was crying, and we're back. So what was I saying? He treated his kid with maple syrup and garlic. And again, garlic's great, as I just said. But he didn't take him to the hospital, from what I read from the article. Self-treated, okay. Go for it, I suppose. But I read this article, and I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of weird. And then I read right below that, an anti-vaxxer and pro-anti-vaxxer. And then this guy's all over Twitter and Facebook, like, because he was, I guess, and this is not the good news, dad news. I have a different segment for that, but this guy is like celebrating the fact that he was acquitted of all charges in an appeal. And I'm like, your kid died and you decided maple syrup and garlic was the way to go. You're a fucking moron. And then, of course, I read anti-vaxxer, and I'm like, this is just like when you hear, and it was a fake article, but it was Florida man drugs and rapes alligators. Like, it's literally stuff like that. But there are real Florida man headlines like that, and that's why I just see the word Florida man, and I see the word anti-vaxxer, and they're synonymous to me. So that's how I feel, and I think you should know that by now, as I constantly and I vehemently shit on people who don't vaccinate their kids unless you have a legitimate reason to clarify. Like if your kid's allergic to vaccines and you're going on a delayed schedule, if they can't get it now, so you're going to do it later, that's fine. But if you're doing it on the nonsense of some bullshit 1990s article and you're just sitting there toilet Googling about what it is, though, there's no safety studies, they don't do anything, blah, blah, blah. You're a fucking idiot. And I'm not pro-government. I'm not pro government involved in regulating what I should do to my body. Everything should be, if you want to kill yourself with a drug, make it legal and make it taxable, make the income go to fixing the roads and public schools or some shit like that. That's how I feel. But I don't want to say that you should be mandated to do vaccines, but it should be in every public forum, like schools. You should have to have vaccinations before you can go there. And in the 3 preschool, the preschools and daycares we did, you are for sure. We asked them, and in 2 of them, it was mandatory that they have their vaccines unless they have a medical doctor sign off on an adjusted schedule, but they have to follow through. They have to follow through on it. And in one of them, it was like, oh, yeah. First off, the lady didn't know at first, which was kind of fucked up because I was like, you said maybe they don't need to have it. And I immediately was like, nope, I'm not going here. Not going here if you have no policy on vaccines. But then the person was like, yeah, they have to, or they have to tell us they're working on it. And I'm like, that's just as bad to me because I am pro-vax. I think that you should not be an anti-vaxxer. I think the anti-vaxxers, the flat earthers, and the Florida men are all in the same boat for me. But that's what I have to say about that. That's another. See, these tangents are what make the episodes sometimes, I think. I have prepared material that I often glaze over and don't even get to, but I tangent like a mother. You know what I'm saying? Well, I guess I would tangent like a father. I know, I'm great. I suppose we will finally get on to everyone's favorite segment. What's that? Look behind you. Nope, we're right here. It's Good News, Dad News. Well, folks, I don't know what side of the spectrum this one falls on. I don't think it's good news. I don't think it's bad news necessarily, but let me just dive right into it for you. I have this on foxla.com. Its headline is, Couple accused of abandoning adopted daughter, 11, claims she was actually 22-year-old scammer. Now, before I get into the article, I remember seeing the article about the previous one in relation to this. That was a couple accused of abandoning their kid. The father turned himself in because they were wanted and moved to Canada, some fucking weirdo nonsense like that. So that's a little bit of background there. Lafayette, Indiana. Gotta love those flyovers. An Indiana couple accused of abandoning their 11-year-old daughter claims she was actually a 22-year-old woman with a form of dwarfism who was diagnosed psychopath and sociopath, according to reports. Michael Barnett, 43, and his now ex-wife, I would imagine, Christine Barnett, 45, adopted the girl in 2010, 2 years after she came from the Ukraine to the United States through a different adoption process. Not sure what that means. WISH-TV reported, citing court reports. A doctor who examined her that year determined that she was about 8. So these are some strange spectrum of numbers we're looking at here. 11 years old, 22 years old dwarfism, a rare dwarfism, or 8 years old. So, okay, that's fine. Well, okay, never mind. I guess that was in 2010. Whatever. Anyway, continuing. The couple allegedly rented an apartment in Lafayette in July 2013, and despite knowing that the child knew no one in that city, left her there and moved to Canada. Investigators wrote in a probable cause affidavit filed in the case. Michael Barnett told detectives earlier this month that other than paying the apartment's rent, they provided the girl with no financial support, according to the affidavit. The couple had the girl's age legally changed to 22 in June of 2012, WISH-TV reported. Christine Barnett allegedly told her to tell anyone who asked that she, quote, looks young, but was actually 22. That would have worked great when I was trying to buy beer when I was underage. But notwithstanding, continuing, the girl has a form of dwarfism called spondylophobial. Yep. Which could make an exact age difficult to determine, according to the local station. In 2014, the girl told a detective that the Tippecanoe County Sheriff's Department that she lived with the Barnetts in Hamilton County, just north of Indianapolis, for about 2 years, after which they rented the apartment for her in Lafayette, located about 60 miles northwest of Indianapolis. She was left alone in the apartment in Lafayette while the rest of the Barnetts moved to Canada, investigators wrote in an affidavit, adding that the girl hadn't seen the Barnetts since. Prosecutors filed neglect charges against the couple on September 11th. They surrendered to the authorities and were released from a Tippecanoe County jail on a $5,000 bond. So there's a little more of the article, and it's more of a, I guess Barnett said that the adoption was a scam. She had been an adult the entire time she's known her, but refused to provide additional details. The girl was complicated and claimed that the situation was complicated and claimed that the girl was diagnosed as both psychopath and sociopath, as we said earlier. This article does go on a little bit. A lot of it's just different statements, not too pertinent. But in an interview with the Daily Mail, Christine Barnett said the girl was actually a woman conning people into believing she was a child. She claimed that in the interview that the girl allegedly threatened to stab them in their sleep, pushed Christine into an electric fence, and poured bleach in her coffee. Well, if I was in that situation, I'm not quite sure what I'd do. That seems like the makings for a horror movie, or a thriller at the very least. But that's interesting, folks. Is this a kid? Is this a 22-year-old woman with a rare form of dwarfism? I don't know. The courts haven't ruled on it yet. So this is a very interesting article. I want to point out that I feel like the threatening to stab, the pushing into an electric fence seems like a real giveaway. on maturity level. Because first off, I don't know, maybe Indiana has a lot of electric fences, but, pushing her, if she's 11, she can't push you. I don't think she's strong enough to push you that hard, so who knows? Oh, hi, Pan. What do you think? No? Okay. She doesn't really have an opinion. She just wanted to point out that she was here, and that's cute. But, yeah. A little weird article. I'm pouring bleach in her coffee. I feel like at that point, and then I'm like, is it child neglect? Is it neglect if she's 22 years old? And he said he was still paying the rent in the apartments. So there's a lot of weirdness there. I don't know if it's neglect for sure. If you're 22, I don't think you can do that. I think she should have some charges against her if, in fact, she was pouring bleach in someone's coffee. Pushing into an electric fence could be an accident. Threatens to stab, that's just all in good fun. Bleach in the coffee, that's where I draw the line. That's where I say, you're not a child, you're a crazy person from the Ukraine who wants to fucking stab me and poison me and kill me. So, I guess we'll let you. At least that's not as depressing as some of the articles I've had on here in recent times. I have a decent one. It's not really dated, so I'll do it next week, like a really good, heartening one. But this one I just thought was too good to pass up. I mean, come on, you got the makings of a movie right here. This is literally a chick. Allegedly, it's a chick pretending to be 11 years old, gets adopted. There's a lot that goes in it. That's a criminal mastermind, in my opinion. But that's my thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts, guys. I'm here to call. You can text. Well, you can't text, but you can send me a message on the Facebook. I'd love to hear from you on the thoughts on this one, because this one's a doozy. It makes me. I don't know how I feel about it, because if she was 11 and you bought an apartment for her, that's neglect. But if she's 22, that's a little bit over the top, if you think about it. And then they moved to Canada. And then they turned themselves in. So good on you. Nice, good, upstanding citizens through a weird adoption process. So, I don't know. That's just crazy. Guess we're going to wrap up soon. So you know what that means. We're going to move on to Where is Penny at developmentally? Where is Penny at developmentally? Wasn't that fun, guys? Didn't that get your toe tapping? A little fun little song about Penny's development. Lately, and for a while, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but it's very funny because I taught her to stick her tongue out, which is what I'm assuming regret when she gets into school and she's sticking her tongue out. All like, hey, she's sticking her tongue out. And I'm like, what's the problem? But, well, we'll cross that bridge. Trust me, you'll be hearing about it when it happens. If we're not looking directly at her, or if my wife is not looking at her when she's looking at my wife, she'll just not all the way, just a little bit of it, she'll stick her tongue out a little bit, just a little bit, and over and over again until you look at her and then she smiles that big old smile of hers. At the 4 a.m. feeding that we have to do every once in a while, which is pretty regular. Just the second she looks at us and she knows it, she's like, she's just all blase. She's just literally sticking her tongue out, so happy to be alive. And I'm like, you're supposed to not rile them up. And my wife, she doesn't get mad at me. One time she got irritated with me because I was just like, we're not supposed to smile at the middle of the night. But she knows I'm just having fun. I can't not. Hi. Yeah, we're talking about you, sweetie. Oh, okay. You're okay. You're okay. Anyway, so she's doing this tongue thing. It's adorable, just to get our attention. And, that's a sign of, she's intelligent. She knows what's going on. She's starting to do things for herself, You know what I mean? It's not just all reactionary. It's not just her physical needs. She's starting to develop her mental capacity, which is pretty cool. Lately, for the last couple of weeks, she has been very stuffy, and we got some bloody boogers, unfortunately. She's not on a bloody nose, but, when they harden up there, it gets very sharp, and there's such a thin membrane in your nose. We aspirate, and that's irritating as well. We've been told by the doctor that if your baby has a stuffy nose, you should just use the saline and let it kind of just schlep down on its own. I think that's the actual word he used. But it's hard because you can tell she's like, she'll be asleep, but she'll be like, and it's like, and I can't sleep through it because I know she's not necessarily in distress, but it's just hard for her to breathe. And I know what that's like. I think I have a deviated septum, so I have difficulty breathing out of my nose in general. But I just, it's definitely something we've been dealing with a lot lately, and it wakes me up, and good, because I don't want her to be in distress with us asleep. But that's how our 4 in the morning feedings have started again. We had about a week of just straight through the nights, which is great. But once a night's not that bad. She's still young. And lastly, on her developments, I guess, her new thing is when she sneezes, and when she finishes 1, 2, or 3, she has this just smiles. She's like, achoo, with a big smile. Because, every time she sneezes, it's adorable. So my wife and I really just get a kick out of it. And so I think she gets that. And it's almost like she's performing for us. But, that's neither here nor there. It's very, very funny. Nothing crazy. She's got this cool, these toys we're using now that are very tactile. And she's got like stuff that has different feels to it. And like light up toys, singing toys, and we're having fun. That's just where she's at. But guys, it's been real. Again, I got the episode out today, which is great, and it's today, by the way. I've been having a very busy week, and I just haven't. When stuff happens around the house, I'm sorry, the podcast is just below priority 1, guys. But I made it point to make sure that we got it out today, so you will have this. We already have it. You've already had it. Thank you for already having our podcast today. But, I do the best I can to get these things out every week. And I'm going to start trying to have a few in the can just in case something happens. But it's hard to do that because they're linear in the way when I do the news articles that they're more new and that Penny's development goes up in a straight line. But really, what I talk about, I've mentioned this before, you can listen to Shits and Giggles in any order you want. Go back to the first couple episodes. Episode 3 is really good about the stuff that you buy that's unnecessary. I will be doing those as she develops and we get more and more unnecessary things. Trust me. But yeah, you can listen to it's like my opinion on things and what's going on in life. And especially if you're a new parent and you just tuned in for one of these last couple episodes, go back to my first few. The production wasn't there. I've developed this show over the course of, I think, like episode 8's when it really hit its stride. But the first couple episodes are good, and they're about my experience as just about becoming a new parent. So, those are there. I definitely want y'all to look at those. As always, hit us up on the various things. At the end of the little clip at the end of the show has all of our contact information on it. And, guys, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to leave you now with my world-famous words of wisdom. My kid is better than your kid, and vaccinate your kids or keep them the hell away from mine. I'm Matt Howes, and this has been Shits and Giggles, a podcast for dads. You've just listened to one dad's perspective on parenting. This show is not meant to be an authority on how you should raise your kids. Did you enjoy the show? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on social media. Leave a review. Anywhere that you can find and download podcasts, you can find Shits and Giggles. Find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at shitsandgigs42 with 2 G's. Email us at shitsandgigs42@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube as well by searching for Shits and Giggles, a podcast for dads. Don't forget, you can also call the hotline to leave a quick story about you as a parent at 818-835-2350. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.